The Zulu War is one of those conflicts that everybody knows about, but not many people know about, so let's fix that. What? The Zulu Kingdom versus Britain, 1879. Now we all know that bigger and more powerful usually wins in wars, but this time, it might have been the other way around. You see, back then, the Zulus were a fierce tribe of warriors with a strong kingdom that had resisted colonial encroachment until now. But they were facing the British Empire, which had superior firepower. I mean, they had the Martini Henry rifle, which was one of the best breech-loading rifles of the time, and it could shoot and reload faster than any Zulu warrior, not to mention their artillery. But then again, the Zulus had something the British didn't expect: their battle tactics. While the British charged into battle in a linear formation, which was very vulnerable to flanking maneuvers, the Zulus fought in a circular formation called the Buffalo Horn. It was nearly impossible for the British artillery to penetrate, especially since the Zulus would often divert its fire into the air by throwing their bodies in front of it. They also used hit-and-run tactics, attacking and then withdrawing before the British could regroup. And when the British finally managed to get close enough to use their superior firepower, the Zulus would disappear into the jungle, coming back another day to do it all over again. This went on for months, and the longer it went on, the more desperate the British became. They tried changing their tactics, even switching from the linear to the circular formation, but they just weren't as effective at it as the Zulus. Plus, they kept losing men. At this point, they had suffered nearly 400 casualties, and they needed a victory, but they couldn't get one. So while planning their next battle, British General Lord Chelmsford decided to make one major change, one that would turn the tide of the war. He put his best general, Lieutenant General Frederick Roberts, in charge of the artillery. Roberts set up his cannons in a way that they could cover the entire battlefield, and then he waited for the Zulus to attack, which they did, charging into the British lines. But before they could do any real damage, Roberts unleashed his cannons, firing over 1,000 solid shot and canister rounds, which cut right through the Zulu formation like butter. It was an absolute slaughter. The Zulus who hadn't been killed outright were so demoralized that they broke ranks and ran away. From there, the British simply chased after them, killing anyone who got in their way. In the end, the British had won, but at what cost? Of the 137 British soldiers who had fought in the battle, 52 were dead, and 129 wounded, while the Zulu casualties were unknown, but estimated to be around 400 dead and 600 wounded. Now, this wasn't the end of the war, but it was a turning point. After this, the British simply overwhelmed the Zulus with sheer force of arms, defeating them in every battle after this, and eventually conquering their kingdom. But that doesn't mean the Zulu War ended without any major battles. Oh no, there was still one more. The Anglo-Zulu War may have been a British victory, but it was far from a walk in the park. The Rorke's Drift was one of the most heroic last stands in history. A few months after the Battle of Isandlwana, where the Zulus had utterly defeated the British, the survivors retreated to a mission in northern Natal, but soon afterwards a large Zulu force arrived and laid siege to the mission. Now, I won't spoil anything, but I will say this: it's one of the most epic battles in African history. Thank you for watching.